1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome back to Riff Ram Review here on KTCU, the choice, your choice for college radio. My name's Ina Peachin, and tonight I'm joined alongside Zion Trammell and Seth Dowdle. We just got finished talking about the NLCS series between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Philadelphia Phillies, where the Diamondbacks marched into Citizens Bank Park and grabbed two vital games against the Phillies to advance to the World Series for the first time since 2002. What was it? 2004? Oh, 2001. Okay, 2001. So Diamondbacks and Rangers, we talked a little bit about it before, but man, who would have thought these two teams would end up here as the last two standing? I mean, just absolutely crazy for both teams who 2 years ago were both 100-game losers. But now we're here. Rangers will host the first two games, then it'll go onto the road into Arizona for 3 games, and then back to Texas for 2 if those are necessary. But man, how are you guys feeling entering this? Because I know there's a lot of debate over, okay, is this really going to be a tight series? Is it going to be as close as people would hoped it would be? Just curious to hear what you guys think, especially as Ranger fans.
I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be tough. I think both the teams from the NL, whether it was going to be Philly or Arizona, present challenges. While they are different challenges, both have their strengths. And for Arizona's strengths, it's what we kind of talked about in the last segment of a scrappy team that plays like an underdog because they're treated like one, and they go out there and they prove people wrong using tactics that are ancient in baseball to some extent, right? They play small ball, they steal, they make contact. They don't hit for a lot of power necessarily. That's what they do well. Their bullpen is locked down here in the postseason, so that's the challenge for the Rangers. But Arizona, they're playing a team that's mashing right now. They're hot. Yep. And when those two starting pitchers for Texas, Eovaldi and Montgomery are on, they're on a lot. Yep. And so that's the challenge for Arizona is, can they hit enough? And the challenge for Texas is, can you keep the speedsters contained, and can you get to that bullpen?
Yeah, well, you're pretty lucky when you have one of the best defensive catchers in baseball with Jonah Heim, who can hopefully slow down that running game a little bit. But yeah, this is a very exciting matchup. I think as a Rangers fan's perspective, you just didn't want to go to Philly and play in that ballpark. You would much rather go to Chase Field. But I'm not sleeping on Arizona. They are obviously deserve to be here. They worked really hard, and they fought for these wins. So I'm excited for this matchup. But I think the difference between the Rangers and the Phillies for Arizona is, they faced a good offense already, but the Rangers are even better. Like, they don't really have any holes 1 through 9. While Marcus Semien and Corey Seager kind of struggled at times in the ALCS, the rest of the guys, picked them up. And whereas Trey Turner and, Nick Castellanos, as we mentioned, were just completely out of the picture, Semien and Seager, they had some moments where, whether it was on defense or just coming up with a big home run like Seager did. That's going to be the difference, is that this is a much better Rangers offense that Arizona will have to go up against. But it's a unique challenge here for the Rangers with Arizona.
Yeah, and that was kind of going to be my next little topic of discussion, right, is looking at these lineups and looking at the pitching staffs, whether it's the starting pitching or the bullpen, right? Because I look at these two lineups offensively, right, and right now it's really hard to pick out a hole in the Rangers lineup. I mean, you get down the batting order, and sometimes you'll have Evan Carter hitting 7th, Josh Young in 8th, or they flip and flop, and then you have Leody Taveras batting 9th, and he's done wonders this postseason in flipping the batting order. Now when I kind of look at the Diamondbacks, and I think for the Rangers this will be more the case, is you have a centralized attack that you need to try to that you have to try to muffle, right? You have your top 4, maybe top 5 guys, but then after that, it's a bit of a mix. You're not really sure exactly what you're going to get. Some of the guys lower in the batting order for the Diamondbacks might find their stride, but you really got to be careful of Ketel Marte and Corbin Carroll up top.
Yeah, but luckily for Arizona, well, for Texas, is that Arizona does not have a Yordan Alvarez. So
yeah, that's. I'm very thankful that they do not that Yordan Alvarez does not get to continue playing in this postseason against the Texas Rangers, because man, oh man, that was just annoying. Yeah, it's definitely a series that I think. All right, soapbox time. If you are
Let's hear it.
complaining that this is not fun because these are not two quote unquote big name brands, then you are a true baseball fan, because you just haven't, because it's not the Yankees and the Red Sox or the Phillies aren't here and the Braves aren't here, right? These are two teams. This is good for baseball that these two teams are here. These are two fan bases that have been down on their luck for a very long time and have been regenerated this season. And to get a lot of new fans into the game that aren't just Yankees fans or Red Sox fans or Phillies fans or Braves fans or whoever, Dodgers fans, Astros fans, to get new people loving baseball late into October is good, and that's what we've gotten with this series. And it just because it's not a conventional matchup doesn't mean that you shouldn't watch, in my opinion. That is what I have to say, because I've seen a lot of discourse over the internet ever since Corbin Carroll caught that fly ball from Jake Cave to go to the World Series. I saw a lot of discourse of like, well, I'm not watching, I don't care. It's like, okay, that's fine, but you don't have to belittle people who do, because there are plenty of people outside of Phoenix and DFW that find a lot of interest in this game, because there are a lot of interesting storylines. There's up-and-coming stars. Mm-hmm. There are stars, right? You got the Evan Carters and Josh Youngs versus the Corbin Carrolls, right? That's kind of fun, right? This is the new wave of baseball players coming in, right? And then you got the established veterans like Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly on the mound for Arizona, like Corey Seager and Marcus Semien on the Rangers side, who are going to might not be prominent figures, out there on New Balance deals and commercials, but they're stars in this game. So it's fun to see those people reach the top.
Yeah, I mean, this series, as unconventional as it is, to me, it makes it even more exciting for that very reason, right? No one expected to see the Rangers here. Nobody in a million years expected to see the Diamondbacks here. And now these are two very young teams in their own right? I mean, Diamondbacks are young and inexperienced. The Rangers are more, they've got some young guns, but it's also guys that are at that point of saying, hey, we've got a good team here and we've been working at this. Let's win something now. And I mean, that's again, that the unconventional aspect of it is what makes it so exciting. I mean, as a fan of the Oakland A's, I always hate to see the same old big name teams in the World Series. You're like, okay, yep, this is classic baseball. This is how, we're playing on an uneven playing field type of, argument, and that type of topic. But when you see these two teams in here, right? I mean, Rangers aside, but it's like it tells you that you can't just buy your way to a championship. And I'm not saying the Rangers have, because they haven't yet. But seeing a team like the Diamondbacks make it, seeing a team like the Rangers who have had so much trouble over the last 5-6 seasons, it's like, this is good for baseball. It may not be what everybody wants, but this is going to be much more beneficial for baseball as opposed to having a Yankees and Phillies or something of that, Astros and Braves again.
Just to comment on your Rangers yes, the Rangers have spent a lot of money to get here, and that's good, right? That's what you want out of an owner. You want them to spend and then add on top of the talent that's coming from within, and that's what the Rangers have done. That's why the team is now successful, is that they have spent a lot of money on guys like Seager and Semien, DeGrom, obviously not pitching, and then they go and trade for veterans like Scherzer and Montgomery and Chapman and all those people, but then you supplement those pieces with the young guys that you have drafted or signed internationally and reared up like to be stars. Josh Young, Leody Taveras, Jose Leclerc, Evan Carter. Those people, Jonah Heim, wasn't was a really raw baseball player when they acquired him. I'm not going to take credit for his development, but you see what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying, there, right?
Rangers have a good mix of, hey, we brought some talent in, but we've got a good chunk of this team that we've developed ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. And that's how that's what the Astros did, right? That's what the Dodgers do. That's what good teams do. And that's what's so, awesome to see for the Rangers. And then the Diamondbacks, they're pretty much just we sucked. We've drafted well. Here we are. They've made some key trades. They traded for Paul Sewell at the deadline, which is a baffling move on the Mariners' side, but that's a story for a different time. And then they got, Corbin Carroll is awesome, man.
Yeah.
And just to also see the fortitude of Ketel Marte, they have had multiple offers for him to trade for him over the years, and they've held on to him. And a lot of people are like, why? Right? Yep. He's not in your window. Yes, he is. Look at him. They're here. NLCS MVP. Ketel Marte is a guy that they've developed, even though they didn't have him from the jump. And then it's guys like Christian Walker, and then you supplement them with veterans like Evan Longoria, who is not, like a star anymore, but he has that presence.
You need that veteran presence on every team.
Yeah.
Yep.
To come and, just, talk to people. Evan Longoria has played in a World Series before. That's what's important, to have that kind of veteran leadership. So it's two teams that have that mix coming together, and it's a good thing for baseball, and I think that's kind of what this segment is kind of the overarching theme of. This is a good thing. The Diamondbacks and the Rangers, my bias aside, being a Rangers fan, even if I wasn't one, I would be pointing at this saying, this is good that DFW is liking baseball again. It's good that stadium is packed. It's good that Phoenix is liking baseball again, because these are two franchises that haven't had a lot of baseball success in the recent past.
Yeah, it's the first time since 2010 where the Cowboys, Mavericks, Rangers, and Stars are all playing at the same time. So pretty exciting for DFW.
Yeah.
I will say this, as far as baseball with fans complaining, it's like, well, you will also complain if the Astros are in the world, like, oh, they did it again. The Astros are in the World Series. It's like, so which is it really? I'm just want to know, because this is an opportunity for baseball to grow as a sport, because they are losing some of its audience a little bit, and that's because players aren't being marketed as much. Well, this is an opportunity for players that don't get the publicity that they normally do to be able to, for people to take notice of emerging stars out of this series, because some players, we don't know who, but there will be a select few players from both sides that are going to make impact plays, and people are going to start talking about them and learning more about them. So it's a great opportunity for these guys to, show what they're capable of. And it's been a long time coming for me as a Rangers fan and, a DFW sports fan, to be able to see my team in the championship. So I can't wait to see it. I think the Rangers certainly are going to be ready for this, and it'll be a lot of fun. Should
we jump into a preview of Game 1? It was Friday night at 7 o'clock at the Globe. I think we should call it the Globe. I think we should call it the Globe. We have the probable starters. They have been announced already. It'll be Zach Gallen, not a surprise there, starting for Arizona, and against Nathan Eovaldi for the Texas Rangers. Thoughts on the pitching matchup, guys?
Should be good.
Yeah,
very excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think Zach Gallen is obviously a great number one guy to have, but he hasn't been perfect. He's been hittable. He's not untouchable. Whereas I think Nathan Eovaldi's pretty much just been untouchable. He's just been invincible in this postseason. So I think the Rangers have the slight advantage there. He's been there. He's done that. Gallen, in his last start against Philly, went 6 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, and a strikeout. He's allowed 6 home runs this postseason. So that is something where the Rangers could take advantage of here. Is they like to hit the long ball, and that could play a huge factor if they can get runners on base. And Mr. Garcia could continue his big run.
Yeah, my concern for the Diamondbacks putting out Gallen is just the fact that it's been proven that he can get hit against this postseason. And for the Rangers, it's a matter of how quickly can you get him out of the game and deplete the bullpen, so that Game 2 is really tough for the Diamondbacks. I think this Game 1 could be incredibly decisive. We always say, obviously it's important to get the Game 1 victory, but it's how you get that victory. If Rangers are able to knock Zach Gallen out of the game early, knock around the bullpen a little bit, use a good chunk of the arms, go into Game 2 with the Diamondbacks on the back foot, I think they're set up to be, they'll be set up in a pretty golden opportunity.
And that's when the Rangers are successful. The Rangers struggle against bullpens for the most part this season. I believe I don't know the exact amount of losses, but they were won in a lot. They only won one game when trailing after the 8th inning this entire year, and only won a handful when trailing after 7. So that's paints the whole picture. In this whole postseason, when they were successful, it's because they jumped on the starter early, not the bullpens. Even though they were able to get to the bullpens against Houston the last 2 games, it was against the Verlanders of the world, right? That Garcia homer was against Verlander in Game 5. It was against, oh man, it was so long ago. Who pitched for the Rays? Zach Eflin and Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah.
And it was against Grayson Rodriguez and Kyle Bradish and Dean Kramer against the Orioles. They got to them. They did not get to the bullpens necessarily, even though they might have sprinkled a couple more runs, but it was because they pounded the starters early, got to the bullpens early. That was the key at Game 7. Christian Javier got 1 out.
Yep.
And if the Rangers can replicate, something similar to that throughout this series, to where you are getting Kevin Ginkel and Paul Sewald pitching in the 6th and the 7th instead of the 8th and the 9th, getting them off schedule, then you put yourself in a position where you can be successful. To get a team to a bullpen game is good, but you have to get them off schedule. That is the key.
I agree.
Yeah, or just, with them is just pitching in the 8th and 9th when they're down by, just trying to stop the bleeding. So, yeah, the Rangers lineup is just lethal, and I'm really curious to see what Bruce Bochy does. We know that with the Rangers bullpen, we know Spores and Leclerc are the 2 best arms. What will they do with Chapman is what I'm really curious to see, is how much confidence do they have in him, and when will we see that Andrew Heaney, Dane Dunning come into the ballgame?
Well, perhaps it's time to make some picks. Does that sound good?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, Zion, Seth, either of you guys can start, but give me the World Series champion and how many games and your World Series MVP.
Okay. I will go with the Texas Rangers to win this series in 6 games, winning at home at Globe Life. That will hopefully will come to fruition and be a lot of fun. World Series MVP, I'm going to go with Corey Seager.
I'm going to also pick the Rangers in 6. World Series MVP, Nathan Eovaldi.
That's exactly mine. Rangers in 6. Nathan Eovaldi, I think he's going to get MVP. He's giving me flashbacks to the Strasburg of 2019, just dominant as could be. And pitchers aren't often given the MVP in World Series just because you don't have many opportunities to pitch. But Nathan Eovaldi has just been lights out, as you guys have said, unhittable for the Rangers. I'm sorry, unhittable for other teams, great for the Rangers. Mm-hmm. So I'm going Rangers in 6 as well with Nathan Eovaldi as my World Series MVP. So
I love it.
Hope it comes to pass.
Yeah, I will cry if it does.
Yes. So we've got a great 7, perhaps possibly 7 more games of baseball left. Hopefully less, but. Yeah, so it should be a great series. So Diamondbacks and Rangers will get things kicked off on Friday here in Arlington at 7 o'clock over at Globe Life Field for Game 1 of the 2023 World Series. When we come back, we will touch on the start of the NBA season, the 23-24 NBA season. It just got tipped off last night on Tuesday night, so we'll get into some of that. But stay here on 88.7 The Choice. You're listening to Riff Ram Review.